Good evening, everyone. Liverpool top of the table. It's 3-2. It was done in the most easy possible way against the team at the bottom of the table. And somehow we made it difficult. You're with Dan, you're with Dylan, you're with Carl, and you're with Stitches. It's just about we're late. Technology can get in the bin, but what can't get in the bin is Arne Slot's Liverpool football team and Mo Salah, record breaker, the Egyptian king. He's fighting for his life for a contract. Give the man the deal, but don't give it until he stops playing like this. Right, let's get straight into it. Dylan, how are you? How are you feeling? Tell me at any point, did your heart rate go above resting?
Evening, lads. Yeah, buzzing, mate. 8 points clear at the top. I mean, well, not a type of game you want to watch back in, really, but take the 3 points. Ugly win's an ugly win. Moves us further clear at the top. Buzzing, take it for exactly what it is and put it away and forget about it and just go 8 points clear.
Absolutely, that result was the last girl picked at the prom, wasn't it? Let's be honest with you. Stitches, would you be taking that result home? That's what I want to know.
I'm taking it and I'm running all the way home. running right out of St. Mary's, all the way back to Kirkby, Liverpool, wherever. I'm running all the way with those 3 points. Crazy game.
Absolutely crazy game. There was stress. Mo Salah, once again, I said my favourite line of he's not in the game, what's he doing? And then somehow scores 2 goals and gets an assist and whips his shirt off and gets a yellow card. At one point, I thought the undies were calling off. Colin, did you think the underpants were coming off too?
They nearly were. They should have been. I mean, he should have had at least another. So if that were happening, absolutely, there was streaking going on at the stadium and around my apartment. You can bet your bottom dollar on it.
Thank God he realised that third one didn't go in, and he would have been banned for the Man City game because them kecks were coming off.
Yeah.
There was going to be a crime down on the South Coast, and it was going to be exposure.
We're gonna give him a contract before he just breaks the season record scoring, the season scoring record, and then we have to give him more than he initially would have started asking for.
No, I'm telling you now, the band is back together. Edwards has got a contract, and it's on a fishing hook. And every time he goes and comes closer and says, "I want you to do this for me," Mo Salah's getting closer and closer, like Pac-Man, to getting that contract. And he loves this club. He loves everything about it. And every one of you at home, I know a couple of people in the chat have already left. I'm sorry, it's not my fault. Technology can get in the bin. But what I can tell you is, as I said from the very start, this Liverpool team should be challenging for a title. And guess what? It's in the driving seat. Guess what? No team has ever lost a Premier League title having been this far, many points clear. So, Liverpool, it's over to you. And no titles are won in November. But what I can tell you, we're building something, and Man City is next week. It could be 11 points clear. 11 points. We haven't seen this since COVID. We haven't seen it since Donald Trump was back in the White House. But guess what? Both of those things, one of those things is going to be happening, and it's going to be us winning the title, and Donald Trump, the big ginger man's going to be back in the White House. Anyway, right, let's get back into this game. Let's talk about the football. Right. Colin, I'll stick with you because we spoke to you last. Typical sort of international break, wasn't it? Liverpool come in, wasn't great, very slow away performance. Winning away from home is difficult, by the way. I know this weekend's been a little bit mad for away results, but previously there's only been 5 or 6 away wins all season, and it shows it's difficult to go out there and do. And the first goal we were gifted, weren't we, out of just pure madness from Southampton. Talk me through the first 25 minutes up to the goal. How did you feel?
Yeah, we're absolute trash out of an international break. Every time we come out of an international break and I'm on the weekend, I know that we're going to struggle. And thank goodness this Southampton team are terrible, are full of players who just do not belong in this division. Because without it, I don't know how we pull that one out. Yeah, I mean, it was an ugly game, and it was an ugly game from the beginning. I don't think that we were particularly like truly terrible. We just look, every time we come out of an international break, we look a step slower. We look a step slower mentally as well. Like we look like we're trying to process the game rather than just playing and having confidence. So that's it. It can be a real struggle watching us out of a break like that. But yeah, I mean, and Southampton's hubris in trying to continue to play the way that they want to, it will get them. It's brave, like it's brave of them, but it's going to get them sent down, and then they might come back up the next year, and then they get sent down. But that's you know, I appreciate and understand that they're going to stick to their guns no matter what. It does leave them open for giving away goals like this, though.
Yeah, 100%. The Southampton way of playing football appears to be one that doesn't work, but they carry on doing it. And it's a bit mad. It looks good. I think with better players, it works. But sometimes you just have to work with who you have. And I mean, they lost Ramsdale, they lost Bednarak, they lost two of the starting players in that team. And then they continue to play this sort of suicidal way of football. And they gave away an absolute gift. To be honest with you, all 3 goals were gifts. They were complete Christmas presents. Southampton were like Father Christmas. They were handing them out like anything I've seen. The fact that it wasn't just one mistake, it was 3. And Stitches, I'll come to you in this one. We'll talk about the goalkeeper rushing to throw the ball out, puts a player under pressure, who then loses the ball, but I think it's going for a goal kick under a Szoboszlai tackle. And then the defender decides, I'm going to play this back in rather than let it go for a goal kick. Then plays. It was just insanity. I've never seen anything like it. Stitches, the Szoboszlai's come under a lot of grief off a lot of people. I've not bought into it because I think he brings a lot to this Liverpool team that we miss when he's not playing. I think he does a lot of the Wijnaldum stuff that all cried out for. And today he brought a goal, and I thought he was brilliant. He stuck 98 minutes on that pitch. And you could see he was spent, wasn't he? He was finished.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Szoboszlai conundrum, it's typical of Liverpool fans that I find online, that generally we always have to have a scapegoat. We can't be.
Someone's got to be the 11th favourite player, don't they?
There's got to be someone that's got to get it. And at the moment, recently it's been Szoboszlai. But I've always felt that he does an incredible amount of work that goes unseen. And because the expectation is that he's a guy that scores blockbuster goals, and he wasn't getting that, and he wasn't getting as many assists, he was coming under a lot of heat. So I'm really happy that he got the goal today. Because when he goes to, he seems to be free when he goes to his international team. He's scoring for fun and creating goals for fun. But somehow it's not translating into the Liverpool performances at the moment. And I think that's more to do with him learning a new way of playing. I feel like he's been asked to do a certain job, and it's not at the autonomic stage yet where he doesn't have to think, he just does. He's really have to think in, where am I? What position am I taking up? Which does take away from your goal scoring opportunities, because you're almost second guessing. That time just goes because you're thinking, am I in the right position? Or do you know what I mean? Rather than just going. So I was glad that he showed a bit of instinct today in terms of, the press worked because they all pressed as they should. And then the ball just arrived to him. And what you look at is the technique. The first touch, I was showing my son, my boys were watching it with me, and I was saying, look at the time, the little amount of time it took between the first touch and the shot. And the shot was clinical, off the post. You can't get it further away from the goalkeeper than that. And it was the first touch that set it up. It was perfectly out of his feet for him to step into it and just whip it in. And I just thought, brilliant. Technically, beautiful. I'm glad for him that he got that goal. And I think, people have to realize that. I think, when did we see it? I think you see it sometimes when he's not in there. And yes, we've got Curtis Jones in great form, and I'm a big Curtis Jones fan. But I feel like you miss a bit of that industry that Szoboszlai brings. The midfield loses some legs when he's not in there, and he lays it, he puts it all on the line. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
I don't know. Was it the Arsenal game? I'm misremembering.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wasn't it? He was brought. He was started. He didn't start against Arsenal in that first half, and we missed that kind of engine. We missed that physicality that a player like that he brings, and everyone was going, "We're missing Szoboszlai here," and that's my point. Is that it might not be the person who's like who's playing these major passes, but he's not doing it. It's just that little bit of the pressure, the thing that makes the other team do things that you want them to do, and it might not be the most aesthetically pleasing. It might not be the thing that kind of points out to you and go, oh my god, that's the reason why we're in control of this game. And I just felt like he needed that kind of sort of, this was a good game for him in a team who didn't play well today, who rode the luck today, who made some very poor decisions, and will come up into the players who weren't very good today. And there was a list of them, I'm afraid. 4 of them played in our centre, in our sort of defensive line, I'm afraid, because all 4 were terrible. It's as simple as that. All at fault for certain parts of goals that were given, but I think the Szoboszlai was very good, so I think he deserved that one.
Can I just say on the performance, I think I'm a bit different from everyone else on this panel, because I don't necessarily think it was all in all a terrible performance. I actually thought at the start of the game, I thought it's going to be a case of how many today. But what I did think was that, and I think you're right, Colin, there was an element of cognitive dissonance in that we were very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Complacent, maybe? There's a lackadaisical way that we were playing defensively, where we were taking chances that we didn't need to. We didn't seem quite switched on. Even Van Dijk was making, uncharacteristic mistakes. But I thought beyond that, the overall play was good. We dominated. We were moving the ball. We were creating chances. And then I think the decision to give a penalty kind of changed the game a little bit. You
segued me perfectly into this opportunity for us to talk about this one with Dylan. Dylan, welcome to to your opinion on a downside of the game. Virgil van Dijk, perfectly said there, very lackadaisical, running into the midfield and then deciding to play some form of back heel that I've seen at 5-a-side Power League from my stepson. And I've said to him, what are you doing? And it was Van Dijk who was going, what are you doing? The pass isn't that one. And it looked great when it comes off, but when it doesn't come off, you look a little bit like a clown. And that's unfortunately what he did. And then everybody else sort of kind of went, that's not in the plan. What do we do? Gravenberch sort of went, I don't know what I do. And then Robbo had a malfunction and decided, I'm not going to show this lad the line. I'm going to put a tackle in. He just went, Leroy Jenkins, and I'm going to put a tackle in there. Whether it's a penalty or whether it's not, to be honest with you, it doesn't matter. What matters is, Robbo, what are you thinking? Dylan, tell me. I want a psychological evaluation of him. What's going on? Evaluation.
Yeah, no, I think it was a bit of everything, like you just said there. It started with Ibu did it a couple of times in a row where he kind of just went on a little adventure and gave away some stupid passes, and then it seemed to catch on. Verge went, I'm going to do the same for some apparent reason. Stepped into midfield when it's completely unnecessary to. Don't know what the back heel was about. But then from there, there's 3 people coming back with the lad as well. I was looking, I said exactly the same thing when I was watching the game. I was like, if he's just, even just let him skip past you. If he catches the ball up and scores from that angle, you go, fair enough. You can't do anything else about that. But by putting the tackle in the way he did and just kind of diving in, it's given that I don't think it was a penalty. That's my kind of opinion on it. But you've given the decision to be made then at that point instead of just going, you can either go into that space or I'll follow you into that space. But if you are going to dive in, just don't even get him and kind of let him skip past you, because he's not going to score from over there. And then you got Gravenberch, you got a couple of people coming back into it. So it just felt all a little bit unnecessary for no apparent reason. And then Keller just unlucky with the penalty, really. Good save on it in the first instance. And then rebound, obviously, it is what it is. But it just all felt a little bit unnecessary. And it just seemed to catch on of stupid decision after stupid decision for no apparent reason. We seemed to have a bit of control in the game, and then all of a sudden, we just decided to step out and like you said about our defence, probably the worst defensive performance of the season, but at least it came against Southampton and not against City. So that's all we can kind of say from that. We can still get back into it after they didn't have as good a game as they usually have between them, Ibu and Verge. So, yeah, I don't really know what else to say from Robbo, really, other than just let him go.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm try my best to honestly not butcher this fella's name, but I will, because I will. Paul Onuachu, is that about right? The Nigerian striker who Konate saw and went, he's really big, so I'm going to have a fight with him. It gave me Everton versus Dominic Calvert-Lewin vibes, where he just decided, I'm going to have a fight with him and go, Ibu, what are you doing, man? Don't push him. And he gives a yellow card away. Bradley gets sent for one by Adam Lallana, who has cheese-string hamstrings, and then gives a yellow card away. And I'm thinking, well, there's two players on a yellow card. Van Dijk decides, well, I'm going to do back heels in the midfield. And then, basically gives a goal away. And then Andy Robertson decides, I'm just going to be a terrible defender. Like, all four of them, like, Arne Slot's going to be staring at all of them and looking, going, what was that? Like, can you tell me, all those 11 games we've just played where you didn't do any of those things? Could you just go back and do those things again and none of that stuff? I know you've had an international break and I know you've not been here for 2 weeks, but we haven't forgot about this stuff. And again, maybe it's because we're playing a team at the bottom of the table. Maybe we took them for granted. Maybe we looked at them and thought, you know what, these lads, they're not going to give us too much of a problem. But Robbo should have trusted TK in that situation and said, you know what, that's Kelleher who's more than capable of making a save. So it didn't cost us. And I think all four of them can thank a certain man at Mohamed Salah. Colin, I'll come to yourself. The man who can somehow be invisible for most of the football match, but when it matters, he is a superstar, isn't
he? He has this magical ability that we've all been burnt on before, which is like, to your point, Dan, man, what is he doing today? Like,
where is he?
He seems right. He seems unimpactful. And then something happens where he just flips a switch.
Yeah.
And he's unguardable. He's untouchable. He is on his best day. He is still prime Steph Curry. He still absolutely can do whatever he wants when he's on.
Yeah.
And I think that there's an argument to be made about the consistency and maybe that is part of his kind of aging journey, that maybe the consistency is not there as much, but man, when he's on, he's untouchable. He's unplayable. And it's an asset that you cannot fully replace.
No.
It would have to be a new invention of the position, because there's nobody who does it better. Still is no one. 8 years later, just 7 years later, still is no one who does it as well as he does. It's a joy to watch.
It is. I mean, it's difficult to look at Mo Salah, and I do find myself, and I like to say it because it becomes a curse of benefit to Liverpool, of me sitting there and going, what is he doing? The first half in the Liverpool game, I really genuinely felt, I know he had a good chance and it was well saved. I don't think he quite caught it that well, and early on before it was 0-0, and I think it kind of came just before we got a corner from it. So it was, he was in the game, but then he just goes through periods of time where you sit there and go, I've not seen Salah on the ball for a little while. I've not seen him pick up the ball. We were putting the ball out to Gakpo an awful lot. And I felt like Gakpo had a really good game. And I think the substitutes, I'll get this straight in, brilliant substitutes. I think Arne Slot is ruthless when it comes to substitutes. I think he got them absolutely spot on. I think he's on at least a 95% hit rate now when it comes to making the right substitutions. I can't really think of one where it was like, what's he doing? And it was great to see that we brought in these players who changed the match. I don't think it was in the plan. I don't think at any point were those players sort of like, I think he would have, I've not seen his interview, so obviously I can't wait to listen to what he's going to say, because he's not going to be very flattering of his own Liverpool team. I'm almost certain of it. He'll be very critical of what he's seen today. But it's a bit of a weird one. As much as we all would have liked to have walked away with a 3-0 win here and gone, happy days, that's great. In a weird way, sometimes you need these results. Sometimes you need these games for you to remind yourselves. You need to show a little bit of grit and go, it's not always going to go your way. You're not going to get a decision the way that you want it to be. And as we say, we talk about the penalty, blah, 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 blah. I felt that the second goal that we conceded, having gone behind, was just daft. Again, defensively, just all over the job. It was quite literally last season. You transported me back in a time machine 12 months, and I'm watching Liverpool versus anyone, basically. It doesn't matter who we played. We just went, here's a chance. Have one, take it. Try and beat the goalkeeper, because we're handing them out like a charity. And it was nice to see that we were able to make the right substitutions, and Slot had come in there and said, right, these are the players I'm going to bring off. He kept Nunes on. Jamie Carragher was doing his very best to kind of play down Liverpool and put them down as best as he can. So, Dylan, we've been on 20 odd minutes now. Who is your man of the match?
So for me, there's only a couple of people really that you can
Don't
say
have Mo Salah.
decent enough game. So for me, Gravenberch still went about his business nice and quietly, kind of unnoticed, without really having to do much. Can't for 1 week have any of the defence. None of them were anywhere near it today for me. But when you've got someone of that mentality who, like you said, he's not going to be there for 70-80% of the game and still scores you 2 goals that wins you the game. And ultimately, at the end of the season, if we look back and go, we won 3-2 at Southampton when we were absolutely shite, and we still managed to get it over the line, then that's what's going to count. It reminded me a little bit of in the when we won the title. It wasn't really the same type of performance, but when we won 2-1 away at Villa and we were absolutely
trapped in the
Villa
boys.
Game, and then we went and nicked it right at the end, and it felt similar like that to me, where we didn't probably deserve the 3 points with the performance in terms of getting it over the line, but to get it where it was, and we almost needed that punch in the nose from Southampton to wake us up a bit and go, do you want this game? You got this opportunity to go 8 points ahead. If you want it, you're going to have to fight for it. And when you got someone like Salah who's going to come up the way he did in these types of games, it's exactly the type of inspiration you kind of need through the rest of the team. So it has to be Salah for me.
Yeah, it's impossible to choose, but I'm gonna say to you, Stitches, you're not allowed to choose Mo Salah. So I want to know who your man of the match was, and you're not having Mo Salah. I'm not having it. It's too easy.
No. I mean, I couldn't go Salah, but I think, in a week where Salah's been criticised as not being world class by certain individual players or former
Troy
players,
Deeney,
Mr. Troy Deeney himself, and I've actually in a group chat, I've had LFC fans agreeing with him. It's completely head loss for me. It's like, that's my reaction. This guy is world class. And world class is that he's done it consistently for over 7 seasons, and he picks his moments. Like you say, he could be out of the game and then he just does it. But look, all that being said, I wasn't going to pick him. My man of the match is Szoboszlai today. Just because I feel that sometimes the workhorse needs to get some credit. And the amount of ground he covered, his efforts, winning the ball back, linking play, and then to get a goal as well. So I'm going to go Szoboszlai.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right. I would have gone with Szoboszlai, so I'm now going to throw it out to Colin. I'm going to make it even more difficult for you. You're not allowed the last two. Yeah,
typical. Those are the two that I would have picked.
But you're a thinking man. You're a deep thinker, Colin.
Later,
you'll have someone.
If Kelleher would have only given up 1 goal, I probably would have picked him, but it was 2.
Yeah. Could he have done more for them, though? Really?
Maybe on the penalty. He almost gets the save on the penalty. Pushes it right back to him, which is nitpicky. And
you are a man of high standards, Colin. A very high standards.
He makes the save, and I appreciate him greatly for doing such. But he does push it right back to him. But then he almost makes the save with his butt. He almost sits on it, which is quite funny.
You got into Stanford. Well, listen, what about Harvard? That's what Colin's thinking. What about Harvard? That's what he wants to know.
So let's go with Gakpo. I thought he was good. I thought it was effective. I thought Luis Diaz, when he came on, was really, really good as well. So both
he looks like a man alive, doesn't it?
I think one of the things, and you were kind of mentioning this about the substitutions from Horsot, which he's very unsparing. He's very cold and very cut and dry. And I actually appreciate that, which is to say that, you know, he really tries to protect the South American boys when they go away. From when they come back, he does not like to start them, which I think is really appreciated. So I really liked seeing Diaz come off the bench. I think when he's allowed to have the proper amount of rest time, his legs still do look electric.
Yeah,
and he just, I think he needs protecting from himself in a way that, like, I don't think that the minutes that as many minutes kind of grind on him on his legs more than other players do. So they can co-share it. Both of the boys who played in that left wing position, I thought were really good today.
Yeah, I think on the timing of it as well, the timing of the substitution was perfect because the game had become stretched. It had become almost like basketball, like end to end. And I think that timing actually suited Diaz coming on because making those runs to stretch the game, making the runs in behind, being able to carry the ball distances, that was what we needed in that moment. So that again, kudos to Slot for seeing and reading the game like that and then making that change appropriate.
Absolutely.
No, 100%. And this is actually a good question because I kind of forgot about it because he frustrated the life out of me. That is it Dibbling who played for them? He was
the one who wore his socks around his ankles.
Yeah, he was a real throwback, and I'll be honest with you, Tyler Dibbling, I'm going to be honest with you, if he plays like that going forward in the future, he's going to be an unbelievable player. He was very, very direct. I was sitting there, he did it twice, I wasn't going, is this lad Diego Maradona? Somebody take him out. Do you think we struggled against the strong ball carriers? Dribbling was had me stressed, capital letters. I agree, I was there. We've handled tight space specialists, Verts, Palmer and Reinders, but charging through the middle gives us issues. I think you're absolutely right. I think it does. I think that falls into line with the kind of players that we have. You know, we look at, you know, because we lack that, the six. I hate that word, by the way, because it's everyone's favourite bloody word when it comes to signings at Liverpool. We don't have that destroyer. We don't have, you know, the Moise Caicedo. We don't have, you know, the somebody who's going to be able to like be that big, strong Rodri / Declan Rice kind of player who I think we do like. You look at Gravenberch is like the light version of it. He's like he's the tall, but he's not got quite the build and the strength to be someone who can do that. It did when you got Curtis Jones, not really known well for someone who's been a tackler, Alexis McAllister, Dominic Szoboszlai to an extent, but he's more of the 10, so he kind of is a more advanced role, isn't he? And of course, Gravenberch, who, as I've already mentioned, he's a little bit more of your lightweight version of the two. I agree. A couple of times I did feel like when you directly run at Liverpool, we can be a little bit stressed and a little bit stretched. And that's normally where we rely on our back four. And I think our back four, when they play well and play well on their day, it doesn't really affect us too badly because when you're running through that middle of the pitch, the people you run into are the first and second best centre-backs in the league. And just on today's occasion, they decided that they weren't going to be. And I think that's why it looked a little bit more sort of difficult. And I think that's where they got a bit of joy out of us. But it's out the system now. I think who knew 22's put a good one there. He'll take a win, typical away performance after an international break. Yeah, we had another team is going to be added to our slots shit list, which was going to be Nottingham Forest, but we don't have to talk about Southampton. Need Trent back from Madrid? No, we do not. I do not need to see 90 minutes of him doing this, talking to Jude Bellingham. I don't need the media. I don't need the hugs after the game. I don't need the shirt swapping. I don't need any of it. I need Trent to be fit for Man City. So no, thank you very much. I'll play it right back before Trent does. If any other team had Gravenberch would, he'd touch us. Something to watch out for, but honestly, we cooked them. How many chances? Yeah, it was a tough day at the office. But what matters, Liverpool win. Not great, not brilliant, but what matters is that little bit of masterclass, that little bit of brilliance from Mo Salah was what we needed. And at the end of the day, 8 points clear, everyone, with the opportunity of going 11 next Saturday. Was it next Sunday? we'll be there, Anfield. But until then, Dylan, Colin, Stitches, and everyone who's watched and joined in the chat, I really appreciate it. Come and get involved. We'll be back again later at 7:30 for more chat on the game and the games going forward into the Champions League. Take care of yourselves. Have a good evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.